Nsem-Pii TV nie.
20 weeks to 2024 December 7th election. Now, the opposition NDC, as usual, is in disarray. Now, disarray ya omo akwako ewurami. Omo ankofo NCC omo ehenya NDC party ni mu omo egu Mahama campaign no. Na campaign no de se ba omi akan no ya mutu. Appiah Stadium also ya Mahama ba. Nyimri o say NDC MPs ni bi hu yon mama. Na ya na omo ke kase 2024 omo win seats omo ye majority in parliament omo ye ni sire Appiah Stadium see say NDC MPs ni bi hu si bon no sabi also ben Dr. Majupuku Prempe as is we running meet now bill be say chairman sabu so ben MPs na ora nka say wo omo no ora e frese wo say ni promote to abaman also the compare on the party NDC for the year enye no de onye ni year 2024 o me jina parliamentary si bibribi sa semana na NDC party no penifo bi atro krata ba bontin se ebeya omompe policy bi ho asem nka no omunyai se omo attack ba omia no na ba omia no the more omo attack no ya papa no ye popular to omunyai sa de no na se 24-hour economy no mba ko hyedem akosua apemu nkyiremu apemu ntiase etinya ba be kyerkyeremu yeri a kyere Ghana fo a omonya no mum na ba omia na ompeso omo tag no as liar as debe no omo see enyeye it is not yielding any resource amen kind letter na omo twoni bi nkyerem o see the National Democratic Congress the NDC is experiencing internal unease as a strategy to undermine Vice President Dr. Aladun Bawumia's credibility appears to be backfiring. In an open letter published by GhanaGuardian.com, a concerned NDC sympathizer, James Esilifi-Kondua, has expressed salient concerns and called for a change in the party's campaign approach, highlighting the ineffectiveness of branding Dr. Bawumia as a liar. Kondua, who has actively followed Ghana's elections since 1996, expressed disappointment with the opposition party's current campaign strategy. Quote unquote, having actively followed 7 general elections from 1996 election, which the late President Rawlings won, I must admit, rather reluctantly and with disappointment, that the 2024 elections campaign of our party, the NDC, is the least effective in terms of messaging. He noted that despite the NDC's efforts to label Dr. Bawumia as untruthful, the Vice President's popularity continues to rise. So number 1, omo message anka say omo message say 24-hour economy say you kada say free SHS review say free SHS no say omo say you mo no also omo ni message. Now this is the poorest NDC campaign since 1986. Now they say you try na one currency number 2, they have decided to attack the image, the personality of Vice President, now flag bearer Dr. Aladun Bawumia. O say no so ma ya enkosi aga NDC say 2024 no pa ye call say just NDC party no nkoyi na ono de no see ya na Chifu Atimukwa MP, yes NDC MP David Tivon de say ono de on fa NDC fo ho odi kan be kan se brand champon hotels no is obeto no de otanechi mine na downfall na on de kabe ya kagani ni ya ni odi Ghana property Singapore for no Lebanese for no ma toto ejapade ache enei osase ono de onkan ntu ade anana nkokufado abeye ewo the cool the constituency bridge bubu ye na a cutting off communities from one another na another nkokufado e de mirikatente abe repair bridge na mama also no obeka ma wiase nyina ati say nkokufado is a listening president no mampanyi bia odwene ne manfo entie say de nkomodidi no eguso a ekoso
Krasiphobia na amoma represent your parliament. Omi ye jimi for krasifo ankasa. Me so ben NDC MPs bia. Ntira na pone ababo wase jimi nsa mo zuru mo etutu bofo mo parliament no. E say o ben na pon se do mo hu si hwam no. O ben Matthew Poku Pempe mo hu so mo ye guy ben NDC MPs no e man me me mo kan krasifo ase e mo bi na yakoto aba mo akoto parliament. No mo fi so mo ha jo Mahama. Mo na mo ha mo ho.
Emra baby no na ajeta ni ahwere nipa no
or say yenya medical drone delivery system.
Okay.
Na eno ye fa drone na say wo hye tokromu ye pin map na drone na nkasa to any part of the country. Say over 10 regions in a matter of minutes and hours or bed drop here drone na nurse ni so ye or your content cra na so be or ho betimi administer no maye. Oh yeah, NDC for current women organizer also drones yi na nkrofo eyiri mu bedware afa na ebe ni na mu wiem ahwe nkrofo abegemu. The thinking any foresight no to where baby awiase ne kone any ho. Nanso so Dr. Mahmoud Baumi Adaroma monfidie iso ana na mehwe bi beyond omo deliver vaccines deliver nro deliver moja enkwadodo omaji through this medical drone delivery system nanu ya mihunsa reporter ba ko merefi media house no ogina Afam Plains.
Okay.
One of the most remotest parts BEC in social nkra no kochro ye no exam sheet no sanya tete ho ayes we ma start na we mu achirichiri nti mu otwen yen deliver obi ade na exam BEC exam papers ye the drone atimi drop it ama district education for any headmasters for atimi anya administer ama Ghana irrespective of baby awo yetima try exams at the same time enye no nko awo Ghana ha say minim se president Kofo Apenso and a National Identification Authority at the buy. National Identification Authority na buy me kind pass at that time under Professor Atefa almost started so more registration. Me Minamo University of Ghana me call Great Hall and I me call ye capture. Yes, a buying as a heading a hemre as one bet to us me ni sister. Enfie moche Omo ntimi a operationalize National Identification Authority and issue cards and magana de share dodo na.
When you were in government, nobody heard you speak. In fact, you tell yourself, we are told, as a debt collector for a company, I fought for top. Calling attorney generals to make payments on behalf of companies. We are told. At the time, your public spiritedness was nowhere to be found.
Really?
Where was it?
Did you see me participate in any
any
purchase of state assets?
Oh, why have you seen me participate in any purchase of state assets? Your public spiritedness was nowhere to be found.
You're wrong.
Where was it? The only case that you went to court was the Obichebilamte one.
Yes.
Which was when you were in opposition. And
it continued whilst I was in government.
And then what
the final judgment of the Supreme Court was in 2012.
After that, sale of
I was in government.
Oh, please. Sale of state assets did not take place between 2009 and 2016 when you left.
I participated in any of that.
I'm not saying you. Your voice. You never found the voice.
I was at the Supreme Court
to speak against any transaction, including sale of state lands when you were in government. That's the point that I'm making.
I'm not aware that when we were in government, state lands were sold to any politically exposed person. If you can provide one example, that's the issue we are discussing.
So the question is about politically.
I don't know of any colleague minister in cabinet or in my ministry, and I didn't speak out.
Politically exposed persons have purchased state lands in this country from 1992, including the period when we were in government. Of course, at the time, your eyes and ears were closed, and so you never spoke about them. That's fine, or that you probably didn't hear, because really, was it an issue even? And so it never occupied the headlines, because it had never been an issue. We all were here when that policy of redeveloping some specific areas in Accra came up during President Rawlings's era. I know people who bought some of those lands, including business people, private individuals, politicians on both sides. We know of investments that Smith has put in private hotels in this country. We know of when their parties were in power,
Regional Mahama. They took a facility from Smith, $8 million. Was it right?
Which one?
Mahama.
Smith.
Of course. Was it right then? Was it state capture?
Has it been paid?
I don't know.
You have to check it.
I don't know whether it's been paid or not, but I'm saying
It was a loan.
I said they took a facility. Yes.
Facility.
You see?
From Smith facilities.
Oh,
Enkane Ghana man penini Obenfo Professor Evans Atafifi Mills opinini wotiase ankane erobenya mfinhia no ediwotwe eye 8 years nanso owo defu krade ankwantimi ngie no ode napakan kese atwe opinini abo so de nakwakopie mu ewo asamado na Enkane Ghana man penini Professor Evans Atafifi Mills ne ho nsem kakra enie efiada July bosomede da na etoso eduonu ba ko 1944 eno opinini oba tiasefo asase so na Saturday na yememene da July 21st 2012 eno opinini odi na woda ne etoso edusia enwotwe 68 adichi ne kwesi ada edwada ebrada ukwada eno opinini woto na nanom ewo ensiedo na mpenifo se ufo ne katira mampro no na ejinati asefo so ne saye so ntino Professor Evans Atafifi Mills na busua efire kunfi otuam ena busua nkaye anopaye kwakopie mu ewo asumdwe park de amamre ne amanye egu apono so kai Enkane Ghana mampanini Obenfo John Evans Atafifi Mills se anya hwekra no obeso my Ghana nukuredie emu na opanyina ogine kunfi odom na busua na mu ekasa ye eye oba hema na enifo otoso miensa chidom hema odom na busua oba penini kobina baini wonyina no okasa bia na chese woda nyankopon asese anya hwekra no Ghana yenya omampanini na ofimfimfim mantem oba yenso wanye Ghana bro enie ogina na so ye dwumaden som Ghana kwenasa hudu nyina eso eni brebi atwemu Amerikafo omede se bimpreduas age se mebefo my Ghana mu eni opanyini gina na so edito omanim se saade ne ye beji atum na so moma ye bosia de a eni ye betena Ghana emu ohia akum yen we di adanse so opanyini no na chese wodo Ghana firi na kuma mu owura Samuel Koku anyi dohu penyi kofa bayoda Atamils Institute no opanyini nso o campaign fo ho wonyina no okoko pie mu ewo dwumadie na se wo hwe hu ni se amamre ne amane ampenfo de gu apono so no ebetumi afa ne ntoma pa edi efira da mpenfo kirem se mfinhia polpoli edum yenu nie enama dodona na nko hwe ni mu se Ghana anya hwekwa na nke beye ewo Enkane Ghana mampanini John Evans Atafifi Mills ni kurom na akai nchirima se brebi atwam oni nya mampanini bia na ofrimfimfim mantem na so ne ko Enkane Ghana mampanini kurom ko hwe
you just wonder what is happening. Now, you go to the said they need you. Joseph, no idea, and I know two fellow. Daniel, no idea, and I know two King Cyrus now in the move. So it is not necessarily, so God has with different talents. But the point I'm making is that, so Dr. Bahomia took his time. Secondly, you live in November 4th. He needed to assert his presence on the landscape. Yeah, he needed to assert his presence on the landscape first. And he said, sir, 16 regions, meeting the chiefs, meeting religious leaders, meeting traditional leaders, meeting the youth, going to the markets, going to the places, touching base with the people. That I am Mahamudu Onya. Me na MP4. Nyakupada Mahmoud Frank and Ashem. I mean, I am passing in another video actually. But you said there are times and there are seasons. And the season of Nanado is about moving away. And Nanado has no problem with it. So he has allowed me, and the pastor has allowed me to lead. It's me Babe Twaso. Me na me and I said, I may be MPP, I call any intimini. Maybe I me up according to my own merit. And you see, some of us did the same thing for President Mills. So we know the potency of Saudi. Yeah, I'm a President Mills, no. One of the deep messages Anna Yade Kobat sent to me back in Sunini was basically say, please stop looking at President Mills
continuously through the prism of Jerry Rawlings. Yes, he served Jerry Rawlings as vice president, but today, as an individual, he's called John Samuels. How many Samuels? And that is all they're calling now. How many Samuels? No, how many Samuels? How many Samuels? Then South and before the propaganda name, oh, Yari will be how many Samuels? No, if you do baby, and yeah, you know, there. So the point I'm making is Nana. So what Bawumia did with his advisors was that let's take some time and establish the presence of the leader. Let's quit the fire. No, I'm sorry, I'm not the disciples. Daddy, he had to go through some processes before he chose the 12. So for every leader, you establish yourself, your presence. Then, now you elect, you nominate your vice president. Now, even in the nomination process, say yes, will be a dinner time, council of elders, or they are die former president Kufo, or they are dying Nankasani Bozanado, or they are co-party caucus, or they are share majority caucus. Me, I can say for a fact, and let him become a decision. A bar, did John Mahama even bother to go to the minority caucus and meet them and tell them that this is my choice? So, there are certain things that the MPP and Bawumia are doing that are interesting. Now, thirdly, there's a constitutional provision. Say, I could never be better less than 6 months before elections are. You're nearby election. Then people are saying, oh, I don't know when you mean term by election or Menshia. I say, what is your problem? When John Evans Samuels chose John Mahama as running mate, maybe July or something of 2022, did John Mahama resign as MP for Bole? Didn't John Mahama become running mate for Samuels and maintain his position as MP for Bole? So where comes this argument that Napo should resign from the ability? A lot of the talk is just internet talk. And on our own Nancy now person TV was them because we are anti-gay. Baby and come on. But that means soon come on in DB. So to the substance or the government of the discussion, the MPP has done it in a very organized and strategic manner. Very organized and strategic, and I've given you the chronology of how Mahama feels a very organized and strategic. First of all, let the flag bearer show presence, let him establish his leadership. Then when you, the running mate, you come, Sebi, Umbekase, Ebia Wunti, and Ankulindi Biba, Ukahon and Kulindi Beba. There were no two ways, but the young Wunti, because Penino. What it is now, Bawumia has now become a household name everywhere. Napo will only come and compliment.
Still no and for a peg running mate me, you know. Who stands tall? Okay,
yeah, fine. So in terms of running mate, the only way you can peg them, because one is a professor. She was the first female vice chancellor of the university. So a very accomplished academic. It couldn't mean me in training. She's an established one in her own right. Nobody can question her academic credentials. Napo also is a qualified medical doctor, a dentist by profession. You cannot question his training and his certificate and his professional. Yes, Baku the MP, Bakundi. At a point in time, Baku can say, "Oh no, don't hear NDC." We remember that IEA in no ne kojo ponko maye.
Moderating.
Let's be very clear that she doesn't belong to any political party. They not joining NDC, you know. Baku the from day one, they started MPP. Karifuluma was MPP no. And then was there as I think 3 or 4 times MP. So in terms of political entrenchment, establishment, identity, Baku or political identity, and that is very critical. That you identify with your political tradition, you are well steeped in it, at all times.
Nsem-Pii wɔ hɔ no more na nsɛm so wɔ hɔ. It is utie now share on my YouTube channel.
Be the first to know Nsem-Pii TV.